On everybody, and welcome back to another Millennial Moose Monday. I hope that your Monday is going as well as mine is. And I have a couple of announcements, or really just one main announcement, and that is we have a new comic coming this week. So check out those email inboxes, or if you haven't already, sign up for the email list so you don't miss out on the comics, the blueprints, the blog posts, or anything else coming down the pipe for Millennial Moose. I know that I have a lot brewing coming in the upcoming. I know you don't want to miss out on any of them. But that's all I have for this week. I'll be introducing some new features and blueprints in the near future. So stay tuned in the Millennial Moose Monday for more updates in all of the upcoming weeks. So now on to the topic of the day. So I've been thinking a lot about the perceptions and priorities lately, especially as I sort of have this new sandbox type of lifestyle where I get to experiment with a lot of things in my day to day since I've been coming back. And with the Super Bowl yesterday, congrats to the Chiefs in Kansas City. It really powered up my brain with all these thoughts of what is important, what isn't, how do we decide, how can my friend be such an avid 49ers fan when someone across the world has no idea what a 49er even is, or a lot of people might not know what a 49er even is. So why does the entire nation stop on a Sunday and watch elaborate commercials in the middle of some short coordinated shoving matches to see which city will achieve that jubilation of victory and which will be drowned in sorrow? And it really is that dramatic. I mean, when your team loses, it's a bad day. It's a bad day. And all of that reminded me, sort of the hustle and bustle around the event reminded me of a friend that I met on the road when we were staying in Sri Lanka. And Jackie had a 2-week contracted job there, so when she was off doing her thing, I had a lot of free time on my hands. And there happened to be an art shop right next door to where we were staying, so I jumped over there to check things out and befriended the artist who worked there and lived there too. His name was Ranjith, and I recorded a podcast with him. If you want to know more about Ranjith's story, you can check that out. That link is in the description of this video. But man, he was the happiest person that I ever met. And that's no joke, which was weird because by our normal standards, he shouldn't have been. He was living in a home on the beach with dirt floors and a patched roof. Things were starting kind of falling apart. He told me they had the equivalent of 10 US dollars to his name, and his whole family lived in this tight space, including his very rambunctious grandkids. So it didn't make any sense why he was so happy, but he was. And he treated Jackie and I to an extremely elaborate curry dinner and made tea for me every time I came, without question, and refused anything that I offered. No money, no help for anything. I was a guest to him, and for all the food and drink, he took nothing from me. And when I asked why, he just sort of laughed and shrugged and said that he was much luckier than I was. If they wanted food, then they could just plant a papaya in their garden and it would grow for a lifetime, and that was good enough for him. And so it was a bit different than the perspective that I'm used to back home, where 10 US dollars in your bank account is not necessarily something to be very happy about. So how did he become so happy? And well, to be honest, he did survive something really truly tragic. He had survived the 2004 tsunami, and it hit his beach where his house was. And that tsunami killed tens of thousands of Sri Lankans. His entire home, his livelihood, his food stash, and everything else was completely destroyed. And they're still repairing it to this day, even though it was in 2004. But somehow he got his family inland before the wave came, and he climbed a palm tree. And as the wave went underneath, and what he described the wave coming in was just this black mass of wave, and just climbed for his life. And he was lucky enough that the tree didn't fall down when the wave hit it, which is crazy, right? And after all that, he ended up swimming to the second story of a hotel next door with a tourist that was also close by and escaped unharmed. So he was just lucky to be alive. Which brings me back to my original point. I'm sure Ranjit's priorities were much different the day after the tsunami than they were the day before the tsunami, which we've all been through that to some degree. Hopefully not to the level of a tsunami, but we all have things in our lives that make us reevaluate what is important to us. And unfortunately, I think our priorities the starting point is shaped by outside forces, by these things we should be doing, or by the communities or the culture's priorities. I talk a lot about the script of life. And I think a lot of our priorities come from those scripts of life. And I think the Super Bowl is an example. It's just something that we fall into rather than evaluate ourselves. And with Ranjith, I noticed it had a completely different stance on the matter. He was focused solely on what he thought was important, solely on what he thought was important. And after that day in 2004, he doubled down on his priorities and let all those others go, which means two things. One is that priorities are subjective. Everything that you think is important can be reevaluated. Everything. I'm not saying everything is unimportant. Your kids are definitely important, but everything is up for debate as a priority to be pursued. And two, the happiest man I met in 2 years, excuse me, ooh, got a little cough there. Flu season, it's terrible. But so the happiest man, point two, the happiest man I met in 2 years of meeting all kinds of people every day had evaluated his own personal priorities and acted on them. That doesn't sound like a coincidence to me. So I think that's something that we can also do. So I have a challenge for you. This week, your challenge is to rethink your priorities, all of them. And I mean every single thing that you can possibly think of, because they are all subjective, right? So you have the power to question and think about your priorities. It could be formal. You could sit down and write about it, or you could just on your drive to work, just think about it. But start to think about what you want and what is important to you. I think we too often just flow through life without any sort of direction, and that leaves a lot of change, that leaves a lot of opportunities, and that leaves a lot of happiness on the table if you don't. And priorities are important. They drive you. They make you chase something. They push you in whatever direction those priorities are pointing to. And we have to make sure that those priorities are servicing you. We don't want to wait for our own personal tsunami to come crashing through our life to get our priorities straight. So do it now. Do it now. Think about it now. Set those priorities. And I guarantee that good things will happen. So that is Millennial Moose Monday. Thanks again for tuning in. Please leave comments if you have anything else to add to that conversation. I'm always up for talking it out. The world's complicated, and we need to figure it out, or at least get farther into figuring out. So that is all for me for today. Thanks for tuning in to Millennial Moose Monday. So don't forget to sign up for the mailing list. That is where you'll get all the updates about the comics, about the blueprints, about t-shirts, about everything else. Sign up for the newsletter. There is a link in the description of this video. You can go ahead and do that. And have a good week, everybody. Keep an eye out for everything. There are more comics in the works. Other blog posts will be drawn up. All kinds of wonderful things will be coming at you, like I just said. The next one, just a teaser, the next blueprint will be how to figure out what you want, something that we were just talking about. So stay tuned for that. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen, tschüss, salamat tinggal, adios, see you guys later. Have a good one.